Hi guys, and welcome to my new Let's Play Skyrim. Now for those of you who are joining me for the first time on a Let's Play, let me tell you what this is going to involve, and specifically what it won't involve. It will not be a speed playthrough, it will not be a focused walkthrough showing you how to play Skyrim. In fact, quite the opposite. It will probably be fairly unfocused, it will probably involve doing things that you should not do. And will just be me generally sticking to character. I like to stay in character when I play these games, and I do like to play, I don't know, not, I would say fairly unstandard characters, so be warned. I will not be trying to build the strongest character ever. In fact, I generally like to challenge myself a little bit by making my character somewhat unorthodox, maybe even having slight handicaps in the profession he chooses, so be warned. I am notorious for getting distracted, and there will be moments of great face palming. So just take that as a warning if you've never watched my Let's Play before, and please don't be telling me I need to play faster or do better, etc., because it's probably not going to happen. So, anyway, yes, who is our hero? Who is our hero? And he is a hero. He is a hero. Yes, this time he is a hero. He doesn't know it yet, but his destiny is filled with brave, well, with semi-brave, heroic acts. It's probably also filled with dragons, danger, and people desperately trying to eviscerate him. Spoiler alert. But yes, hero. He is a hero. He is, right, yeah. Oh, and his name is Richard, which is a very good kingly name, isn't it, that? Very, very heroic name. King Richard. Richard the Lionheart. Strong name. I like that one. So, what sort of person is Richard? Right. Richard is what you would call a believer, I suppose. He's an idealist, a believer in the Empire. He believes in a golden empire, not the empire that we have, not this terrible corrupt thing ruled by the Thalmor, but you know, the thing that was built by Tiber Septim. He's a big fan of Tiber Septim. In another time and place, he would have been a great defender of democracy. You know, self-reliance, but also, you know, looking after each other, working together for the greater good. Obviously, he can't stand the Altmeri Dominion and despises the Thalmor. And he is actually a great believer in revolution. He believes, you know, the Empire requires a revolution to revitalize itself, to overthrow the oppressors. So obviously, he's a bit of a supporter of the Stormcloaks, thinks they've got the right idea. So whilst he believes in the Empire, he thinks this is what we need to do, fight from within, strike down the oppressors, and so on.
This is a mistake.
Step towards the block when we call your name. One at a time.
Empire loves their damn lists.
Ulfric Stormcloak, Jarl of Windhelm.
It has been an honor, Jarl Ulfric.
Ralof of Riverwood.
So he would like to rebuild the Empire.
Lokir of Rorikstead.
And here he is. So, why is he here? Why is he here, ready to have his head chopped off? Oh dear. It's not going to work, mate.
Wait. You there. Step forward.
Okay.
Who are you?
That's a really good question, actually, isn't it? So, who is Richard? Who is our hero? Is he perhaps a noble Nord warrior fighting for Skyrim for the Nords, etc.? Or perhaps an Imperial officer who's seen the light, who realises the Empire is rotten and has thrown off his uniform and joined the opposition? No. Richard is in fact a Breton. He's actually the head librarian and archivist at a prestigious college, and until recently had a pretty comfortable, if somewhat boring, life. Job security, healthy pension, so on. He also had precisely 0 friends. You see, Richard might be a man of the people, but he is not a people person. Richard is fascinated by things. He's fascinated by the universe, how it works, and he's literally devoted his life to understanding the universe. And he's not just magic. He's not that fascinated by magic, actually, because magic by its very nature defies rules. It defies the nature of the universe, and that's all very well and good if you need to get things done, but for true understanding he wants to know how things work. He loves every type of subject, and one of the things he'd love to understand and figure out is humanity, and by humanity I mean all the sentient races, all bipedal sentient life forms, anything capable of speech. But, the thing is he's fairly convinced that people are just stupid. He thinks they're obsessed with idiotic little things, strange little rituals that they have, and he's fairly convinced that all he needs to do is explain to people that they are in fact being monumentally stupid, and that they will see the error of their ways and start behaving in a reasonable manner. This, of course, makes people fairly, shall we say, reluctant to speak to Richard. Richard is not the sort of person you say good morning to, unless, in fact, it is earlier than noon, and you have verifiable evidence that this morning is quantifiably better than the average morning. Richard doesn't get invited to parties very often, I'm afraid, which is kind of ironic, actually, because at a party is where our story begins. You see, the one party Richard has to go to every year is the college ball, hosted by the headmaster of the college, a particularly unpleasant and pompous man who takes great delight in telling all of his students and several of the teachers how incompetent and useless they are. His idea of teaching involves shouting at them very loud until they figure things out. Richard loathes the man. The headmaster did not much care for Richard either, and knowing that Richard, has a somewhat vocal opposition to the Thalmor's interference in the Empire, thought it would be monumentally amusing to sit Richard and the Thalmor ambassador next to each other. He also thought it would be even more amusing to spike Richard's drink. Richard is a sort of famous teetotaler, didn't really drink much, didn't take drugs, always liked to stay rational, and the headmaster felt that if he loosened his tongue up with a narcotic of some sort, hilarity would ensue. He was not correct. Richard himself doesn't have very clear memories of the rest of the evening, although he has a faint recollection of headbutting the headmaster while screaming, "I dare you, call me Dick again." He is fairly sure he set fire to the furniture and the curtains, pretty sure that he stabbed the Thalmor ambassador in the eye with a dessert spoon, and he has a feeling that he stood on the table and urinated on several faculty members, but that might just be wishful thinking.